Good morning. The verdict watch is still on, and we are today entering the fourth day of deliberations for the Karen Reed trial. Hi, I'm Astrologer Val Evans, and we're going to look at the charts and cards to see what could potentially happen as the jury decides this case. Is a verdict possible? And we're doing a take two this time. Yesterday, we had some issues, some audio issues. So I don't know what the internet was doing. If you cannot hear me for any reason, or if there's any trouble, just let me know. All right. So the case has drawn international attention and shown a spotlight on police procedure, court procedure, and the wait is now on to determine if financial advisor Karen Reed will do time. Today, we are going to be looking at the crime chart and the transits over it, as well as Karen Reed's charts and much more. So, if you're participating today, we are looking at astrology and making predictions. We are not here to hotly debate this case. The charts can show us who is who in the case, if there is a possibility of a verdict, and the likelihood of the outcome. But why am I getting that the internet explodes? We will look more into that. Thanks, Toy. Bruiser Bites, nice to see you. Toji, nice to see you. And let's get to the first slide. You've seen this yesterday. You heard me somewhat, but I'm going to redo what I was saying yesterday. And I know it was difficult to hear me. All right. And by the way, I hope you can catch Lovers in the Kingdom today. That's going to be in the afternoon at 4:30 Eastern. That's going to be a good one. That's with Amber. And just so you are aware, if you want to look at your own predictions, go to Astros Seek, hit your solar return, which we're going to do for Karen in this show. And we're going to click her 2024 chart because she had a birthday in 2024. If you haven't had your birthday yet, you're going to click on 2023. And it can give you very good predictions as to what is coming up. And her solar return chart, Karen Reed's solar return chart, is very intriguing. So I'm interested to get your thoughts. So just click on the solar only tab there. All right. So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at the crime chart. Then we're going to look at the transits over it. So this is the transits over the crime chart, as you can see. And it's interesting because yesterday I explained that most of the time when we look at crime charts, and I'll make this a little bit bigger, the ascendant represents the victim. And in this case, this is at 12:15. This is when they first started out something. So this is the time when you would draw a chart. It would show the path. And so you could say that the ascendant was Karen Reed because it seemed as if the feeling that she had at that moment or during the next 20, 30 minutes was extreme jealousy. So I am going to assign Pluto as the symbol for Karen Reed on that fateful night. So Pluto would be down here. And if you were looking at basically the victim or the open enemy, the planet would be Venus. So Venus is over here. And you can see that it isn't going to end so well for this person. And with Mars right next to the symbol of John O'Keefe, Mars represents a policeman. So this would be a law enforcement officer. So you can see that in the third house, a lot of stuff going down in the vehicle itself. Because the third house represents a vehicle, it also represents a yard. So you could say that too. Now, we're looking at the transit chart over this terrible chart. This is a chart for murder. Scorpio is murder. It represents a murderer sometimes. And you can see that transit Pluto is conjuncting the moon right now, right next to the planet that represents Karen Reed. What does this mean? Massive fame, massive, obsessive fame. Once Pluto clears the moon a little bit, everybody's going to forget about this case, let me tell you. But this is an obsession, and you can already see that. And that is going down right now. So thanks, Toy. All right. Yeah, that would be great. Now let's look at some of the things that are happening right now. I'm just going to get Alan Jackson is saying that he's feeling great right now. Of course. So it's Friday. This is a news article from this morning. And a jury of 6 women and 6 men resumed deliberations Friday in the murder trial of Karen Reed, the Massachusetts woman accused of hitting her boyfriend John O'Keefe with an SUV and leaving him to die in a snowstorm. And I just want to make sure you guys can see this. Okay, good. And remember, we were talking about this yesterday, if you could hear me, and that was there are a lot of twos in this case because Mercury is so strong. Mercury represents 2 of everything. We had Karen Reed looking a lot like or twinning with her counsel, that female, I can't remember her name, but both having the same type of hair. And then her defense counsel, both men, they were kind of twinning. Sometimes they wore the same type of suit. So you're seeing a lot of carbon copies of each other, which makes me think that this case is a carbon copy, maybe of the OJ case, where, you've got a bad cop, allegedly, you've got messed up DNA, allegedly. It looks like a twin case of some sort. It could also mean that there might be maybe a second count or 2 charges or even 2 court cases. It also represents small. Gemini and Mercury represents small, and you couldn't have gotten a smaller courtroom. I've been in a lot of courtrooms. I used to work in the legal industry up in Mass. I've been in a lot of those courtrooms, and that is hands down the smallest one I've ever seen. So, Reed is 44. She is from Mansfield. Karen Reed and her boyfriend leaving a bar with a bunch of friends January 29th. So much drinking. And I really believe, we don't really judge in astrology. We try not to. And this excessive drinking was trying to, I think, heal some pain. There was a lot of pain there in their relationship. The judge sent the jury to resume deliberations just after 9 a.m. today. And during deliberations Wednesday, jurors submitted 1 question about the case. On Thursday, they worked through the day with no additional questions. Attorney Alan Jackson said he is feeling great as he led Karen Reed's defense team out of the courthouse and across a sealed off street following the 3rd straight day with no verdict. So this is the crime chart. And you can see, this is actually, I think it was yesterday, but such a collection of progressed planets for her in her, progressed planets for the crime chart. And so they all pile up. And when something piles up like that in anybody's chart or a crime chart or just any chart, it shows an intense amount of blank. And in her case, the 3rd house is words, lots of things online. Moon is in Aquarius. So obsession on the internet. So it's just so much there. And a lot of, you do see a bullying theme here. And the MC, the sun would be right here. So sun is squaring Mars at this moment. This is a lot of mean talk. And Leo is an interesting sign because when you are a Leo, or if you're in a Leo phase in your life, you can have a lot of good things happen to you. You have a big heart. You're interested in romance and love. There's even gold and, fortune that can come from Leo. And also family too. You can have a big family and feel really happy. Leo is the zodiac sign for being happy. But on the opposite side, Leo can represent bullying and beasts and people who are just plain mean. So I see that as a theme throughout this chart or throughout this case is online and even bullying in person. Okay, so this is one of the charts I showed yesterday. Notice that her planet, Pluto, at the moment, this is in real time, is trining Uranus. And Uranus means to be free, it means some kind of freedom or nice surprise. So it doesn't seem like that right now because there's a lot of speculation that this court might be deadlocked. And there is something we're going to look at the jury chart that shows that something is stuck. Okay. And then the other thing, too, showing that this is John here. And there's a big block here. And that's the ninth house. It's the ninth house. It's the court. He's not able to get his, metaphorically, day in court. And the other thing too is we have, let's see, we have the police here. Mars is the police, and it is squaring the internet. So the internet is just super angry at anybody who represents the police right now. But you can see that the police is on John's side. If you can see that, you see that blue line that connects to him. They want to help him, but they screwed up. They screwed up, and they screwed up the DNA too, which is that Aquarius. So this symbol is not doing so well, just kind of flawed and not operating at full capacity. So I think on the whole, and this is destined to be happening for Karen Reed, is that she becomes super famous and she gets her freedom. Now, it's not all roses because she's had to go through, as well as John O'Keefe, they've gone through this. It almost seems like a destined nightmare that you couldn't get out of. Hey, Bucky Clay fan. Okay. Now, we're going to get to her solar return chart in a second. I think you're going to be really interested in that. And I think that's all I wanted to show you was, Saturn and the sun in Aquarius. This is in the crime chart, and it's squaring Mars. It's just so much anger on the internet. And also the fact that the police were unable to be successful with DNA and the evidence, and it's just completely stopped. So I got to say, just looking at this chart, it sure looks like Karen Reed might have the advantage here, whether it's for this court case or on appeal, or if, she's guilty and then she gets a light sentence. But there are things for her right now in this chart, in my opinion. Okay, and there is that red line there. And I really think that this is Proctor here. So it's just over the top. It's too much. It's illegal. And you can see that once Mars moves on. And I think it's pretty fast when it moves. It's going to subside and people can go back to living their lives again. Yeah. I have Proctor down here too because Mars is here. And so you can see that there's an opposition there too to the court. Ninth house is the court. Something that you really need to know when you're looking at your own life. If you're looking at court cases for yourself or for others or for family members, ninth house and ninth house lord is very, very important. And you can see that in the crime chart, ninth house lord, the lord is so important. If you really want to make a good prediction, you go to the moon because that's what represents that court. And it seems like they're going to be able to make some kind of decision. I don't know. That's what the crime chart says. But we look at the jury chart, looks a little bit different. Looks like something is stuck. And I am actually going to show my other camera because I want to show you the card that I got yesterday, and I've been thinking about it. Sometimes I think a little too hard about it. I got this card right as we were talking about the verdict and would there be delay? And I got it when I had asked the question, Will they be able to wrap it up this week? Now it is Friday. And I was thinking, usually upright cards are yes, but I was thinking that the King of Swords shows cuts. And I wonder if they are trying to figure out how to get through that evidence with the autopsy and all the cuts on his arm. I don't think that the state did a really great job of addressing why he would have so many cuts on his arm. Something I wonder what didn't come up was the fact that there were no dog hairs. Like maybe they talked about that, but I didn't hear that a lot, that there was any dog hair on his body, which that would be a big one for me if I was a juror. A lot of people don't like the judge. What do you guys think of the judge? I like her. I think she's tough. I think she's nice. She's made me mad. I'll say that. Here's Karen's birth chart, and there's a couple of things that I saw. Now, I made her a Taurus rising. The one thing that I saw was this opposition between. Look at how she has North Node on Regulus, which is the kingdom, king and queen. This is great success. And if she was born around this time, which is the Medusa area of that rising sign, this is, mess with me. I don't care who you are, what you've done with, what my relationship is, I will turn you to stone. And I feel as if there's that element to her. And there's a lot of people who I know who have this. It's like, do not go up against them. They're very, very strong. Look away and walk around. All right. So the other thing, too, is if she was born in this time, check out this opposition to the fifth house. This is a great example of trying to have a family. And that's what she wanted. The North Node is what you're going towards in this lifetime, what you're destined to do, what is uncomfortable. The North Node is also the head of the snake. It bites you. So the more that you want it and try and push it, the more you are going to get bitten. And with Jupiter right next to North Node, that is a big snake. And so I think that part of what her birth chart reflects is that she really wanted to try to make it work and have a family. A family was very important to her. And her efforts to try just they only worked against her when it came to John O'Keefe's family. As far as her success in court, it does show great success. Uranus is trining the moon, which shows fame on the internet, and it's in a big grand trine with Mercury and Pisces. So that would be lots of documents, lots of talking about drinking in Pisces there. Mercury in Pisces is very, very tough. It's not being able to see things correctly, and especially retrograde as well. It is communicating in a different way than the average person. So, and the other thing too is the moon is somebody who's very expressive. And so trining the ascendant, which would represent her looks and how she conveys herself, it would be somebody who would very much have an expressive look. It's very hard for her to hold back the way that she feels, and you could see that in court. Now she's a Sun Pisces, and Sun Pisces are very. It's a tough. I mean, they're all tough, but with Pisces, it shows. Having addiction themes in your life, people around you who drink a lot, and also people who appear in your life and then disappear. So it's the vanishing sign. And so there's an amount of loss, I think, that is attached to this, especially when you have that opposition to the sun in Pisces. And this is probably the biggest thing in her chart. As you all know, Jupiter is the significant other in every chart. And when it is retrograde, it is someone who is not at full capacity, either emotionally not available, physically troubled, psychologically troubled. And this is pretty amazing. 5 degrees of Jupiter, which would be John O'Keefe, and 5 degrees of Mars retrograde. This is a cop, okay? And with that Mars next to Jupiter, Mars represents the police, but it also represents somebody who is very angry. And so when she would activate a partner here, this is an angry partner. This is really what she wanted. North Node would be you're really trying to go towards having a relationship, somebody who has a family. And interesting that the fifth house is in Leo when I rectified it this way, because Leo represents law enforcement. So a law enforcement family. But the law enforcement family would be her downfall. That opposition shows her downfall. And yes. All right. So, you know what I didn't do? I didn't put on, I just want to quick go to YouTube and make sure. I did not put the troll gate on. Just give me 1 second. I think it's pretty interesting about Karen Reed's birth chart. And it's so tough for people that have that Jupiter retrograde. They usually want a relationship more than anybody else, but it's hardest for them. Isn't that how it goes? And let me just double check this to make it just for subscribers. All right, thanks, guys. That way we don't get any weirdos. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to, I know, Toy, I am so sorry. I went to kick somebody else off. Tell me how you got back in. Did you have to sign in with another email? That's what I was afraid of. Hey, TJ, nice to see you. Bruiser, you say, I don't like how she doesn't let the lawyers state why they are objecting. I learned so much when they say hearsay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Toy, I'm not sure what you mean about the pig. Molly, nice to see you. Good morning. Yes. Yeah. Toy, you say, I'm such a Libra. I can't bring myself to like Bev's style. I'm more of a judge type, if that makes sense. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes I've never seen in courts, and maybe because I don't know, I wasn't paying attention, but she'll just ask the person, did you do that? Like, I'm like, isn't the lawyer supposed to be asking that? And she's like, did you or did you not do that to the witness? All right. So now let me go. And by the way, I'm going to cut all of this out in the edit so you guys can go straight to the charts. But let's go to her solar return chart. This is such an amazing way to make your own predictions. If you are interested in making your predictions, you have to join us today in the afternoon for the Royal Revelation show, and just seeing how things culminate for people, and you can see it right away in their solar return chart. And how do you do that? You go and you start at the ascendant on your birthday, and every house starts on the day of your birthday, basically. So if you're born on the 21st, then the second house will kick in on the 21st of the next month, and so on and so forth. And so she's February 26th. So let's say February 26th started. And this would be Sagittarius. I'm taking a guess because I had to rectify her chart. But if I had to rectify her chart, Sagittarius would be her rising sign, and that means court. It also means marriage too. So maybe she's getting some marriage proposals. And February 26th, March 26th, April 26th, May, June 26th to July 26th. Let me double check that. February, March, April, May, June. Okay. So this is really interesting. Look at Uranus right there. That is to be free. And it is aimed straight at the ninth house. And the moon is fame. So you can see that. It's like it's big. There is Jupiter here, however, and that's the judge. Jupiter represents a judge. And so there's something the judge is doing that is not in her favor here. And there's a lot of fighting. Now, this could be people on the internet. This could be that the court is taking action against people on the internet, maybe by fines. Second house is fines. But her solar return chart shows favorability. Everybody wants part of fortune next to Uranus in a trine. That would show sudden success, unexpected success, fast success. So we'll see if that works out. And the other thing, too, is there's a sextile to Neptune. Neptune is a lot of cameras, just sudden cameras, um, being able to be rid of the case. And that would be her fifth house, which would represent this month. And so that would have started crazy June 26th on her birthday. So I do so hope they find her not guilty. Interesting. It is. It is. Yeah, I know. It's just it's just bizarre. Hey, Amber, nice to see you. And oh my God, we're so excited to talk with you, Amber, this afternoon on the Royals. So Blue Moon Rising, you don't care for the judge. All right. I I gotta say, I still think she's guilty. I think she was going through a lot. So was he, and he was going through sati sati. If you're going through sati sati, people with dark hair can come, or dark eyes can come into your world, and cause they can cause trouble. And so you saw that with Bill Clinton. He was going through sati sati, and dark-haired Monica Lewinsky shows up. You saw that with Jeff Bezos, and he was going through sati sati, and he got a divorce, and Lauren Sanchez with black hair shows up. And so now you've got this, and he was really in sati sati, like super dark times. And you tend to drink more when you're in sati sati. Now, she was also having her own emotional issues as well. And so she was in a very low period too. So this solar return chart, very interesting. I think we should get to the jury chart next. And this is what I'm talking about. So if she gets some kind of, free pass of some sort, why does it look like the internet has gone absolutely mad? Now, this is when the jury started deliberation. Now, already we're kind of seeing it a little bit. They're just, I mean, her fans are a little kooky, you got to say. That, like the obsessive ones, they are absolutely outraged that there's not a verdict yet. And just there's that Neptunian idealizing things, kind of in a dream, kind of not seeing things all the way correctly. Uh, Not to say that a lot of evidence showed some shenanigans from the police. And I said yesterday too, sometimes you see an act that seems evil and intentional, but their destiny potentially might be to uncover perhaps misbehavior or corruption or something, which this case certainly has. So there's always something good that you can glean from these things. Okay, so this is the jury chart, and Venus represents the chart. It is the chart ruler. Venus in Cancer, well, it's about a famous woman, and it's right next to Mercury. It's basically a twin. She's a twin because there were so many twins. Like, how many people looked like Karen Reed in this case? So there's a theme there, that twin. And will we see something that represents twins? Twin charges, or could this be a twin of another case like the O.J. Simpson case? Now, what I'm seeing right now is this T square. And if you see this in your chart, your solar return chart, you're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck that year in some way. The nodes show that something is stuck. You can't, it's very difficult to agree on things or move forward. So I think that already represents her and the case that it's kind of just it's in neutral right now. They're just trying to digest everything, and I think that there's a lot. You see Aries here on that right-hand side, that's the police. And also remember that Mercury is documents. So the police documents, it totally cuts off this case by the arm. And I mean, I shouldn't say that, but you what a terrible thing. I should not have said that, but that just came to my mind. It just cuts you off. And here's the thing that is good for this case, and that is this sextile here to the part of fortune. And this could mean that there is some kind of favorability and that they can come to some kind of a verdict. Why would there be a sextile here? Because they believe somebody. They believe somebody who came forward. Mars could be, it could be a cop, but remember, there's a cop on the jury. So this is some kind of cop. It might not be Proctor. This could be, and you can see this mini grand trine right here. And Saturn, in any case, is going to represent a lawyer. You've got Saturn trining Mercury, which means two lawyers. And it certainly looks like they're having some kind of success. It could mean from this chart that these men are already very successful, and they have all the tools that they need, and they are representing a accused murderer, which is eighth house. But there does seem to be something for them in this case. Now, Moon and Pluto together is very, very famous, but there is a square to Mars here. So there is a cop. I mean, we have already seen a few policemen become very, very famous in this case, and they don't want fame. That's the square. They're like, no, thank you. We don't want that fame. That's bad fame. But Aquarius is the internet. This is somebody who just loses it. And why is it in the jury chart? That's what I would like to know. Who is losing it? Unless they've already lost it, there is, and here's the other thing too, the eighth house is revenge. So there's a revenge element here that's happening. Now, if I were to make up something in my mind as to how this could work, it might be that the internet at first does not like a result. And then the final outcome is favorable. So that's a possibility. But let's go back to the cards because I want to remind you of something. Okay. Amber, you're saying, does the jury chart show what they are focused on? Yes, good question. Mercury and Venus up at the top, so super strong. And these are, Cancer is mothers. Um, so it's almost like there are mothers who are talking. And they could be maybe the wives of the police, which is Mars there. So that's one thing. They're really listening to the witness testimony. Mercury at the top of the chart represents witnesses. These are famous, Cancer famous witnesses and moms. And and they're older too, trining Saturn. So these are older moms. So I do believe that there is a believability to some of the witnesses, but I think that the DNA and the autopsy is the problem. It's a huge, huge problem. Oh, the other thing too is what I don't think they believe. Neptune is here. That's conspiracy. And you could also say Mercury is the court, right? So Venus is the chart ruler. And look at how many, there's just a few degrees here until they get to the court. So that should give us some kind of indication that it's not going to be too long before the verdict is read. Um, Mercury is verdict. It is that piece of paper they read off of, and they're going to be doing it soon. The verdict is so hemmed up and tied up here. And then you've got Neptune, which is influencers, and you have conspiracy. So I don't think that there's a lot of weight being put on to the conspiracy part. Right there. It's almost like you see that square? There's a square to Neptune. That's like they're not buying it. So there's something about that conspiracy that's not coming into play. Now, who does buy the conspiracy? All these people on the internet. They love it. They eat it up. There is a sextile here. So, and this is basically the chart, the jury itself, the court. Libra's the court. So they believe that there's some kind of huge conspiracy. I don't think the jurors, and I believe that Mercury's a group. So that's Mercury is the jurors, and Venus next to that is the female jurors. So it almost shows that it's the female jurors who are having a trouble. So to answer your question, what I think could potentially happen here, the female jurors, they don't like the police. North Node is lying. They think maybe the police are lying. So they're having those very psychic ladies, they're having trouble with law enforcement. So that might make things stick for a while. They're not going to go forward until they work that out. But because we've got a former law enforcement guy here and he's retired, Saturn, I think the foreman is going to be successful in some way. But, we're going to have to see. Now, one thing I talked about yesterday was the transit progressed. And, I wanted to go to the cards real quick before I go here. Not buying either. There's so much sketch going on. I had to use science, Emmy, and Arca guys, which gave reasonable doubt. Okay. If it's not that obvious about guilty, wouldn't it be not guilty? It's a good question. Yes, could be. I thought either that or she could get, the vehicle manslaughter and then, get off with 2 years or something like that. But it does, like, I'm not seeing with that Uranus trine, that doesn't say jail to me. So, that's a big statement. So now this is her transit progressed. And I have her as a Mercury rising. She has 3 years left to go, and she's going to be in Libra. Libra is justice, it's beauty, it's harmony. So, what does that mean? It means that in 3 years, her ruling planet changes from Mercury here, pretty much right on the 7th house of mate, thinking about him a lot, forced to think about him a lot. And remember, Neptune and Neptune trine over you. I don't know. I don't drink that much. And I've had Neptune going over my Mercury. I have no idea why I wasn't, in the bars drinking, but but with her, it looks, it definitely looks like there are Neptunian themes, maybe thinking about conspiracies, thinking about going out and having lots of shots. Neptune can translate to, to those Neptunian things. It doesn't always have to be alcohol. But anyway, getting back to this, the rising sign is going to go into Libra. And so that means Venus for her is going to be in the ninth house. And that shows, especially with Gemini, Gemini means to speak. So she'll be on TV. It looks as if she's going to have a whole different type of persona in about 3 years. So maybe that's a clue as to what's going to happen for her. So that's what we're pretty much looking at. We're looking at maybe a verdict, maybe an appeal, maybe a lesser charge. But it does seem as if there is a policeman. Is it the juror on the foreman there? Is he the one that's going to be successful? But it does seem as if there's going to be some kind of Mars, good aspect or success. Mars representing the police, which I know a lot of people don't want to hear. So just calm down. It's very interesting. I always talk to Amber about this, about omens and how I'm focused and whatever. And the other day I was looking at the fan and I'm like, I wonder, that's got to mean something. And sure enough, it came out in the news, I guess it was late yesterday, that fans are staring at the fan. So obviously it has to do with her and her fans. But what will her fans do in the next 7 days? Somebody's going to be pissed off. I know that. And that's an easy one because somebody is. But why so much? Why does the internet explode? So we're going to have to see. All right. Hey, Natalie, nice to see you. Okay. Natalie, you're going to say, and you've been spot on, Natalie. She'll probably get some sort of manslaughter and then a suspended sentence. See, no jail. So no jail time. Yeah. Yeah. Something where they're like, let's make sure she doesn't do jail, but it looks like she was driving drunk. And one thing, can I just say one thing? And I know I'm going to get hit for this one, but everybody is so forgiving of the fact that she first said she was at the waterfall, and then they're like, "Oh no, 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 she must have changed her mind," or and just gloss over the fact that she changed her story. Like that to me is crazy, where she clearly didn't expect that somebody had seen her at the house. So she said that about the waterfall. And so I think that was a lie. I do, but nobody talks about that. They just think that's fine. She must just not have remembered. Thanks, Toy. Okay, Inga, you think that in the evening is the verdict? Okay. Wouldn't that be nice? Because I know 4th of July coming up, everybody wants to get out of there. Bruiser, you think it's going to explode no matter what? Yeah. Their testimony was so understandable in layman's terms for us all. It was a breath of fresh air for me. Yeah, I mean, definitely the police are getting their asses handed to them in these past 2 years, and for good reason too. I think there's some revenge going on because possibly somebody on that jury has had to deal with the police, and hopefully not, because maybe they had a bad experience there. So definitely a revenge. I would just love to know the inner story, the inner workings of the jury and their thought process right now. But I think it's pretty interesting that they have a retired cop there, because it seems like they trust him. They were all smiling apparently when he was elected to basically direct everyone and be foreman. I know. That's crazy to me. Thank you, Joanna, for saying that. I've had a few people say that to me, and I'm like, what is going on, YouTube? So thank you for joining again. I think that's a big problem with YouTube. Okay, so it is Friday morning. We're waiting for this verdict, and I haven't even looked at the news, and it might have even come in, but I hope we get it soon. I think they're talking about the wounds. I think they're trying to figure out how to get through that. So I don't think that the state had the best case. I think they could have done better. And and by the way, let me look at this one last card here. it was that first show that I did, and I got that card. Um, okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Right, so we got King of Swords, but the first card, the first show that I did, I said, "What's the outcome gonna be?" And it was the Sun. That sure seems now the Sun could be the government, but to me, that seems like she gets her freedom. So this would be the Sun, and that would align with some of the charts that I showed you, especially the solar return chart. So, I mean, it's terrible for John O'Keefe's family. And, we pray for his family and just the hell that they've gone through in the last 2 years. Interesting how, and then I'll stop. Karen Reed's chart shows Jupiter retrograde. And that's somebody who's going to disappoint you. And that definitely, it would seem from her point of view, was the case. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I've enjoyed the conversation and I hope to see you this afternoon. And also we're going to take a look at the that missing person in the UK, see what happened to him, and that'll probably be tomorrow night. So, talk to you guys soon.